War in Sudan has been raging for more than 16 months, causing one of the largest displacement crises in the world. Here's what you need to know about the conflict in Sudan. Since then, over 12 million people have been displaced within Sudan or have sought refuge in neighboring countries. That's roughly 1 out of every 4 Sudanese, including nearly half of all children in Sudan. It created deep ethnic divisions and fueled the rise of powerful paramilitary groups like the RSF. These groups played a key role in helping Sudan's transitional government take power in 2019 following the fall of longtime dictator Omar al-Bashir. Bashir had ruled Sudan with an iron fist for 3 decades, and his removal from power was the result of a popular uprising. Millions of people have been forced to flee their homes, and the country's healthcare system is on the verge of collapse. Many Sudanese people are desperate for an end to the fighting and a return to normalcy. The fighting between the Sudanese army and the RSF has resulted in a massive humanitarian crisis, raising concerns about the safety of civilians and the protection of medical facilities. You might feel grateful that you don't personally know anyone who's involved in the fighting. But here's why you should still care about this war and all other wars happening around the world. First, wars don't just happen in faraway lands. It can erupt anywhere at any time. You might live in a peaceful country today, but there's no guarantee that it will remain that way forever. Even if you do live in a peaceful country, your life is still connected to the conflicts happening around the world in ways you probably do and realize. Wars disrupt global supply chains, causing shortages and driving up the cost of everyday items. They also lead to the mass displacement of people, which can create a strain on resources and services in neighboring countries. Conflicts can also cause waves of refugees to flee to other countries, which can put a strain on the resources and services available to them. Additionally, wars often involve the use of weapons, and the proliferation of weapons can lead to an arms race, making the world a more dangerous place for everyone. And finally, wars can be a source of instability and uncertainty, which can affect economies around the world. By understanding and engaging with global conflicts, you can work towards creating a more peaceful and stable world for yourself and future generations. If you want to learn more about global conflicts and what you can do to make a difference, check out the links below. The involvement of foreign actors has raised the stakes and the potential for the conflict to spread. As the fighting continues, the economic and social fabric of Sudan is being torn apart, leaving millions in desperate need of assistance. It is crucial that the international community works towards a peaceful resolution to the conflict and provides aid to those affected by the violence. The future of Sudan hangs in the balance, and the need for peace and stability has never been greater. However, the two sides have been unable to agree on a ceasefire, raising concerns that the violence will continue. The war has had a profound impact on the lives of millions of Sudanese people. Families have been torn apart, communities have been destroyed, and entire regions have been devastated. The fighting has also claimed the lives of countless civilians, including women and children. As the conflict drags on, the suffering of the Sudanese people is likely to continue. The World Health Organization has warned that the war in Sudan could lead to the biggest public health catastrophe in the country's history. The fighting has also disrupted essential services such as water, sanitation, and hygiene, increasing the risk of disease outbreaks. The conflict has also had a significant impact on the economy. Sudan was already facing a severe economic crisis before the outbreak of war. Fighting has only made things worse, causing inflation to soar and the currency to collapse. The war has also cut Sudan off from vital sources of income, such as oil production. But despite Bashir's removal, many of his allies, including within the military, remained in positions of power. This created tensions with the RSF and other paramilitary groups who felt that they had been promised a greater role in the new transitional government. Tensions eventually boiled over into war in April 2023. This makes the Sudanese Civil War the world's largest displacement crisis since the Second World War and one of the largest humanitarian crises today. The violence has forced hundreds of thousands to flee their homes and sparked fears of another genocide in the region. The RSF has reportedly received support from various countries, including Russia, Chad, and the United Arab Emirates. Meanwhile, the Sudanese army has reportedly received support from Ethiopia, Egypt, and Saudi Arabia. This has raised concerns about the potential for the conflict to become a proxy war between these foreign powers. The presence of foreign fighters has also raised concerns about the risk of the conflict spreading to neighboring countries. The fighting has already spilled over into Chad, and there are fears that it could spread further, if not contained. This has prompted calls for the international community to impose sanctions on those responsible for the violence and to hold them accountable for their actions. The fighting has also spread to other parts of the country, including the capital city of Khartoum. The Sudanese army has launched airstrikes against RSF positions in Khartoum, causing significant damage to civilian infrastructure. And the RSF has responded by attacking Sudanese army bases and checkpoints. While the fighting has largely been confined to military targets, it has also resulted in civilian casualties. The violence has raised concerns about the safety of civilians caught in the crossfire and the protection of medical facilities. International organizations have called for an end to the hostilities and for all parties to protect civilians and respect international humanitarian law. However, the fighting continues and the situation remains volatile. Millions are now at risk of starvation, and the fighting continues to spread to new areas. The situation is particularly dire in West Darfur, where there is a real risk of genocide. Aid groups say that the Sudanese army is burning villages and carrying out mass killings of civilians in West Darfur. There is also evidence that the Arab-dominated Sudanese army is ethnically cleansing non-Arab regions of the country in an effort to drive out those who support the RSF. In response to this ethnic cleansing, pro-RSF militias are committing atrocities of their own against Arab populations. The fighting has claimed the lives of more than 18,000 people by early 2024, and the death toll continues to rise as hundreds are killed each day in the ongoing fighting. Fighting erupted in April 2023 between Sudan's military and a powerful paramilitary group known as the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF. So how did this war start? Why is it happening now? And why should you care? The roots of the current war go back decades. The late 1980s and early 1990s, a brutal civil war raged in Sudan between the country's central government based in Khartoum and various non-Arab regional rebel groups. The war was marked by terrible atrocities committed by all sides, including the Sudanese military and the infamous Janjaweed militias, which were allied with the government. When the war ended in 2005, a power-sharing agreement was reached between the government and some of the rebel groups. However, the deal excluded several non-Arab rebel factions, including those in Darfur. In the years that followed, these excluded groups took up arms again, leading to another civil war which began in 2007. The war caused a massive humanitarian crisis, displacing 2.5 million people and creating the world's largest refugee camp. As fighting intensified, the UN and various aid agencies struggled to deliver aid to those in need. This led to widespread famine and the world's first genocide of the 21st century. By the time the fighting ended in 2020, at least 300,000 people had been killed. While the war in Darfur may be over, its legacy continues to shape Sudan today. The fighting has been particularly intense in Darfur, where the RSF and Sudanese army have clashed in recent months. Adding to the complexity of the conflict is the involvement of foreign actors. As the fighting continues, the humanitarian situation in Sudan continues to deteriorate. As the conflict drags on, there are growing calls for a peaceful resolution. In conclusion, the war in Sudan is a complex and multifaceted conflict with deep historical roots. You might think that this war is not relevant to you, and that you do and live in a dangerous place.